So public records show that Al & Co. was acidizing at those wells. That's using hydrochloric and hydrofluoric acids to make the wells produce. We also know that those wells became over 400% more productive in that time period. So they were really ramping it up. All right, so what did that do to the community? Well, the symptoms were especially noticed in their children, but adults were subject to it too. Coinciding with those smells at the oil pad across the street, residents, especially children, were getting unexpected nosebleeds, headaches, dizziness, and some of those children were even developing heart arrhythmia, similar to symptoms seen in Colorado and Pennsylvania health studies. So these are universal symptoms we're seeing around well pads, not just in LA, but in other places. So what did they do? Residents called their regulators, the AQMD, DOGGR, EPA. They called their representatives and their legislators, and for 3 years, they were ignored. No one came to their help. No one came to their rescue, much as we were talking about no one picking up that TV. Completely unresponsive people in government. And so the community got organized. They started keeping journals of the smells, the time when they called their regulators, who they spoke to on the phone, and they began to go door to door in developing a community health assessment. They found that over 80% of the people in their community were experiencing these same symptoms. And that led to a huge campaign. This is Nancy Ibrahim. She's the director of the Esperanza community. She broke the story to the LA Times, and as a result, that story got national attention, and Senator Barbara Boxer came down to University Park with EPA regulators to inspect the site. Has anyone heard of this story? Do they know what happens next? Okay. Barbara Boxer comes to the well pad, EPA regulators in tow, and EPA officers all become sick because of the fumes at the South LA oil pad. Barbara Boxer shut the well pad down. Al & Co. is now coming up to code, but the LA Times, doing further investigation, found that none of their workers on that well pad were trained to maintain the facility. They weren't keeping production records, and there were no regulators making sure that they were doing their jobs properly, because this industry has grown so fast that our regulators really can't keep up. So, and this isn't just in South LA. There are actually other communities a little bit west of Esperanza that are facing the same thing. Residents in Culver City have been facing problems with the Inglewood oil field for years. In 2006, there was a blowout on the Inglewood oil field that forced half of Culver City to evacuate. 2006. Residents of Porter Ranch. There's a gentleman from Porter Ranch over here. The Termo Company is looking to expand 12 wells near the Renaissance neighborhood. Meanwhile, residents in the Porter Ranch Highlands neighborhood are all reporting strange smells, nosebleeds, and headaches because they live next to the SoCal gas field. So, and I just got contacted the other day from residents in south of Echo Park that are dealing with leaking gas pipelines in their neighborhood. The same thing we're seeing with our roads not being repaired, and our sidewalks not being repaired, and our water infrastructure not being repaired is happening with this industry. And I want to talk about the water problem a little bit. The water problem is well documented, and I'm almost done here. So according to the oil industry's own reporting, California oil operations use about 2 million gallons of fresh water per day. So 2 million gallons doesn't really seem like much when you compare it to golf courses, but in one day, 2 million gallons, that's enough to supply 8 families of 4 for an entire year. That's a lot of water. And when we irrigate golf courses, theoretically, the water we spray on golf courses goes back down into the watershed. When you pull contaminated water, or when you have mixed industrial chemicals to the water used in these oil production operations, you cannot return that water back to the watersheds. There currently does not exist a financially feasible way to clean most of this water. So instead of cleaning it, some people put it in unlined pits where it evaporates, some people dump it illegally, but the majority of this water gets re-injected deep back into the ground. And the problem goes a bit far beyond that. Let's pop back out to Pennsylvania for a minute.